The envelope arrived at 6:43 p.m. That detail matters, because nothing remarkable ever happens at 6:43. It's too late to be work, too early to be disaster. Just a quiet, forgettable minute. Until it isn't that I remember the sound first. Paper sliding against paper as I pulled it from a mailbox. A white FedEx envelope. Slightly bent, the logo printed crooked like it had been rushed. My hands were steady, but only because I didn't yet understand what I was holding. Inside the house, she noticed it immediately. "Is that it?" she asked, already halfway across the room. Too fast. Her hand reached out before I'd said a word, fingers stretching toward the envelope like it might disappear. I took one deliberate step back. Not dramatic. Just enough. Her hand froze midair. That was the first moment I knew something was wrong. We stood there, the envelope between us like a fragile object neither of us wanted to touch. I broke the seal slowly. The cardboard flap resisted, then gave way with a soft rip. A single sheet inside. The smell hit me before the words. Sterile chemical, unmistakably medical. Hospitals all smell the same. Clean enough to feel dangerous. Bold text at the top of the page. Probability of paternity, 0%. She exhaled immediately. A sharp, relieved breath she didn't even try to hide. Like she'd been holding it for months. Her shoulders dropped. Her mouth opened, already preparing words. I didn't react. Cold is worse than angry. Angry can be explained away. Cold just sits there. She glanced at me, confused. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. The audience, me, was supposed to erupt. This was supposed to be a standard infidelity story. Accusations, tears, maybe shouting. Instead, my eyes drifted down the page. There was a note at the bottom, small font, easy to miss. The kind of thing you only see if you're already looking for something else. Paternal DNA matches a registered relative. I read it twice. Then a third time that MY mind started moving without my permission. Dates lining up, blood types flashing back from old conversations, hospital names, insurance cards. Things you don't think about until suddenly you have to. This wasn't infidelity. This was something worse. Something impossible that I looked up. Which one of them? The power shifted instantly. She blinked too much. Fast, excessive blinking. Like her eyes were trying to reset the moment. A tell. I'd seen it before, just never like this. I tapped the page. LabCorp, accession ID right here. Timestamp 1422. My voice sounded calm, almost curious. First degree probability, 99.98%. Her mouth trembled. So I continued, was it my father, my brother, or my son? She didn't answer. I walked to the fridge and pulled down the blue hospital bracelet we'd kept stuck under a magnet for years. Folded, faded, a stupid keepsake from a long night and a shorter hospital stay. I placed it next to the lab report. Same shade of blue, same barcode format. Her knees at the chair she sat or collapsed. Hard to tell. She whispered it. Barely sound at all. My brother. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed on the counter. His name lit up the screen. I turned it face down without answering. She cried quietly, controlled, measured. It was one time, she said, wrong answer, because at the bottom of the lab report was one more detail. The note about a blood donation 3 years ago after a motorcycle accident. That's how the match was possible. That's how the truth waited. I looked at her and finally spoke. You let me raise him. And that's where everything ended. Missed calls stack fast when the truth moves. By the time I pulled out of the driveway, my phone had already vibrated 3 times. His name flashing, disappearing, flashing again. I didn't answer. At the corner, a kid pedaled past on a red bike with training wheels, wobbling but proud, a parent jogging alongside with one hand hovering just inches from the seat. I watched him steady himself and thought, does he know? Not the kid. My brother. He opened the door in socks, a beer in his hand. The game paused mid-cheer behind him. Normal life, right up until it wasn't. His smile started, then died the second he saw the envelope. Guilt does that. He stepped aside without a word. I walked in and set the envelope by the sink, right on top of old water stains. A place where paperwork goes to be forgotten. The apartment smelled like fried food and stale hops. Domestic. Ruined, he laughed. A short, reflexive sound, then stopped when he read the bold line. Color drained from his face. He didn't linger. His eyes went straight to the bottom note. Smart. Too late, his hand shook. I'd never seen that before. Not after breakups. Not after accidents. He swallowed hard. She said you'd never know. Past tense. The slip landed heavier than any confession. He started talking. Stress, alcohol, proximity, family being too close. Words tripping over each other. Trying to build a bridge out of nothing. I checked my watch. 7:24 p.m. I wanted him to feel the time pass. You don't get to explain, I said. You get to prepare. His voice cracked. Prepare for what? I turned for the door. The part where everyone else finds out. The drive home was slow, but not hesitant. Calculated. Every mile gave me space to organize what needed to happen, and in what order. When I walked in, she was waiting. Sitting upright, hands folded, like a defendant who'd rehearsed the wrong plea that I set my phone on the table between us and opened my contacts. Parents, sister, group threads, draft messages already lined up. A visual threat. You'll destroy everything, she said, finally breaking that I met her eyes. You already did. I logged back into the DNA portal. Not the summary this time. The full report. Appendix. Chain of custody. Lab technician ID. Every page that turned suspicion into fact. I forwarded it to my lawyer. At 8:06 p.m. she reached for my wrist. I stepped back. He's innocent, I said, which is why this ends clean. I sent a medical history request to my brother. Short, clinical, terrifying in its efficiency. Then I opened the family group chat. Subject line, clarification. The typing bubble exploded at MY father called. I answered on the third ring. Timing matters. His voice was steady. Is it true? Yes. One syllable. Final dot, I sent the report while he was still on the line. No spin. No protection. Transparency is cruel, but it's fair. He told me my brother was already driving to his house. He arrived back at ours at 8:19 p.m. red eyes. No beer. He wouldn't look at her. She stood up and he flinched. I didn't plan it, he said, but you maintained it, I replied. For years. My phone buzzed. Lawyer. Subject. Next steps, he asked the question everyone asks when the ground disappears beneath them. What happens now? Isolation. From the hallway came a small voice. You're allowed. The blue nightlight hummed as I stepped into the child's room. He sat up, blanket tangled around his legs. I tucked it back in, muscle memory, doing what my mind couldn't. Everything okay? He asked. I nodded. It was the truth, not the whole one, but enough. Fast trust like that is heavy. I stood an extra second before closing the door. I in the living room. My brother cried, shoulders shaking. My wife stared at the floor. I pointed at him first. You don't come near him again. Then her. Start packing. Her voice rose, panicked. Where will I go? Headlights washed across the window. MY father had arrived. He walked in without knocking. Not like entering a room. Like entering a world already divided. My father didn't need an explanation. His eyes took everything in. The envelope, the lab notes, the empty tension in the air, the slight tremor in my brother's shoulders. No hugs, no shouting, just authority. He pointed at my brother. Leave. Then at my wife. You too. Authority doesn't explain itself. It doesn't negotiate, plead, or justify. It exists. The house exhaled as they obeyed, the weight of years and broken trust pressing behind their retreating steps. That I glanced at my phone. Lawyer text. Establish record custody, now .1 word replied. Proceed to be Y9:41 p.m. Documents start arriving in digital form. Temporary custody motion. Emergency basis. Grounds carefully noted. Misrepresentation, familial conflict, genetic disclosure, risk to the child. I signed with a digital signature as my father watched silently. No nods, no murmurs. Just presence. Solid, immovable, like a lighthouse amid a storm. 9:56 p.m. Case number signed. The soft knock on my door from my wife was ignored. Outside, my brother's car peeled away from the driveway. Guilt making him a terrible driver, the call came from the lawyer at 10:08 p.m. "You did the right thing," the voice said. I replied evenly without emotion. "I don't need reassurance. I need results." Plans for the future started filling pages in my notebook. School notifications, medical authority forms, neutral evaluators, everything documented. Philosophy guiding every move. Precision beats emotion. Systematic separation began at 10:29 p.m. Passwords changed. Email, banking, cloud storage, share calendars. Deleted, purged. 10:44 p.m. Printed custody filing placed safely in the locked drawer. Principle, evidence likes order. The house felt stable for first time since the envelope arrived. Not empty, but orderly. Then came the secondary report. 10:59 p.m. Yellow banner on the portal. Hands shaking, I logged in. Secondary review completed. New information. First degree confirmed to maternal linkage. Not an accident. Not a loophole. Deliberate continuity. Every door she might try to reopen was closed. BY 11:14 p.m. The lawyer confirmed. This strengthens everything. I closed the laptop and leaned back, letting the creaks of the house sound normal again. Returning to my child's room, I found him asleep, curled on his side, breathing steady. I watched for a long moment. Whatever his blood said, my name was on every night he'd ever woken up scared. 11:32 p.m. My father cleared his throat. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "I am now." A hand on the shoulder. One simple squeeze. No words needed. Intergenerational support, rare in its subtlety, but enough to hold us both steady in the chaos. The night ended quietly. I poured cold water in the kitchen, feeling the glass chill against my fingers, preparing myself for tomorrow. Planned, calculated, resolute. The house was finally mine again, not just as a space, but as a system. Every decision, every document, every precaution detail was a statement. Truth cannot be ignored, trust cannot be reconstructed from lies, and love, carefully protected, remains indestructible. The reckoning had been thorough. Legal precision, protective parenting, systematic justice. And in the quiet, a father and son silently affirmed that some bonds, unlike deceit, cannot be broken. The doorbell rang at 6:30 a.m., firm, professional. No hesitation. 2 family services workers stood there, clipboards in hand, badges glinting faintly in the morning light. Coffee was already brewed on the counter, documentation laid out in neat stacks, every detail in order, competence displayed without fanfare. They moved quickly but gently. Custody filing, DNA reports, lab addendum, all time-stamped, highlighted. Truth compressed as well. Every fact folded neatly into its place. My wife's temporary address was verified, written down, checked off. Everything procedural. Nothing emotional. BY 6:58 a.m. I walked to the child's room. Same blue nightlight hummed softly. Quiet breathing, peaceful. He looked at me first. Always does. "Morning," he whispered. I returned the greeting. Workers stood near the door, speaking in calm, even tones. Kids adapt faster than adults who eat up BY 7:14 a.m. The procedural portion ended. Thanks were exchanged, doors closed. House stayed still. No collapse, no echo, just structure holding. Steady. Filed at AT 7:32 a.m. A text confirmed the court action. Hearing scheduled. Status. Temporary sole custody granted. Pending review. Phone locked. Face down at BY 7:45 a.m. I was packing lunch like any other day. Cut apples, no skin. Routine restored. Stability maintained. 8:10 a.m. The timestamp marked the story continuing beyond frame. Life moved forward. Justice achieved. Child protected. Future secured.